Hey, what's going on? Podcast Nation is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Strategy with Jason. This is a special edition, the Kain Automotive Event Edition, where I get to talk to everybody that's doing a workshop or a keynote at the upcoming Kain Automotive event. By the way, if you haven't gotten your ticket, you need to get your ticket right now. Pause this recording. Don't stop it. Just pause it because I want you to come back and listen to the rest. But pause it. Go to Kain.auto. Make sure you get your ticket. The first hotel's already booked, but there's like 3 others, so there's going to be plenty of room. Today, I have a great guest with me. I have Shane with Silverback Advertising, and I am so excited to talk with him and get into some conversation around attribution and storytelling and media buying. Look, it's one of my favorite topics. But hey, let's introduce it. Shane, thanks so much for taking the time to jam with me. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Jason. Great to be here, and we're just as excited as you are to get to the conference next week. It's going to be our second year there, and it was amazing last year, and we're looking for some great interactions and networking again this year. So yeah, great to be here.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, the networking, right? Like, I mean, I think of, don't get me wrong, I love the big monster events, and you guys all out there know which ones I'm talking about, but those things can be just overload, just like the lights and the 15 happy hours and like, what am I seeing and who am I talking to? I love these little regional ones because they're so collaborative. Don't you agree?
Yeah, the collaboration is a big part of why we go, especially a company our size. We do a lot of great things at Silverback Advertising, but we're not one of those behemoth companies that you may see at those shows that take a couple of event centers to just walk through. So these regional ones are more our speed because we get a lot deeper conversation with the individuals that we come across there. So whether it's the participants or the other vendors that are participating, we're just able to have a lot more in-depth and casual conversations and really get to know people, understand their problems, and help them talk about solutions to these things with all the education that goes on and with the all the hallway education that goes on.
I'm so glad you brought up the hallway education, right? Because for me, the Kain event, that's what it's all about. Look, anybody out there watching and listening right now, if you're going to the event or you're thinking of coming to the event, even like right after the workshop of shit that Shane's putting on, you'll be able to walk right up, shake his hand, have a conversation, continue, whatever questions you had. Like, it's just that type of event. And I'm super excited. And before we get into your workshop, I always like kicking off these podcasts with a little origin story, Shane, because I'm just fascinated, right? Because I don't think anybody just wakes up one day and goes, hey, I'm going to make a career out of the automotive industry. So let's start there, Shane. How did you get started in this crazy little world that we call the automotive industry?
Well, my story goes back a ways. I won't date myself totally, but we're going to go back to college with my origin story. And I was set to graduate college from West Virginia University and come out to the great state of Oregon and maybe go on to work on my master's, maybe stay in swim coaching and do some kind of graduate, work. And then right before graduation, a company named Ford Motor Company came along. You may have heard of them.
I think
they said, hey, let's fly a couple of hundred college grads into Detroit. Let's spend the weekend interviewing them, and then we'll offer them jobs, and we won't even tell them where they're going to work before they accept their job. So that was my orientation. I ended up getting an offer with Ford Credit. That position ended up being in Seattle, Washington. So being the college student that I was, I said to my fiance at the time, hey, we can go to Oregon with no jobs, or we can go to Seattle with one of us having a job. Right. So that was my foray. It was a Ford college grad management training program. It was 6 months of learning all the various positions within Ford Credit, and then starting at the ground level and kind of working your way up. But that is what brought me out to the West Coast, and what brought me into the automotive industry. And now it's been about 22 years, and 15 of that being, or I'll say 13 of that being on the OEM side of things with Ford, and then moving in with Hyundai for about 10 years. And after that, I decided, that I really loved the marketing role that I was doing at the brands and at the OEM level. but I really wanted to practice it more at a retail level with dealerships. And that's when I joined my partner, Jeff Kosser, who actually started Silverback about 16 years ago. And Silverback was doing a lot of tier 2 for Hyundai and other manufacturers at the time. And so I knew Jeff really well from that space of being a provider with the OEM. And we started working on a way for me to join Silverback as a partner and be a part of the company. And so I was able to take my journey from the OEM side and all the knowledge, that I had there from years of marketing and sales and finance, and kind of bring that over to the agency side, where I've been for the past 9 years now with Silverback Advertising.
So you transferred over to the dark side, huh?
I did. Yes.
Hey, trust. Hey, okay. So I did the same thing at one point too. Like I was, Well, look, I think we were talking a little bit about this before we recorded. People get started like either because they're born into it, or they kind of just fumble their way into it, or they kind of get this conned into it. Kind of sounds like you got a little bit of, you kind of fumbled, maybe a little bit of conning, like, hey, show up for this interview, but we won't tell you what the hell it's actually for or where it's actually going to be, but you should show up for it. Like,
yeah, it was
automotive for you, right? That's automotive industry.
Definitely. That is very much the automotive industry. And looking back now, it's kind of funny. I look back and I think, man, when I started the job, with Ford Credit, I had no idea what I was in for. I don't even think I really understood what the role was. I just knew that, hey, this great company is taking a chance. They're offering me a position, and it's got an income tied to it. And hey, it's on the West Coast where my fiance and I wanted to go anyway. So let's give this a shot. Why not?
Give this a shot. Why not? All right. Now, 20 plus later, here you are. You got
here I am. Yeah.
Veins, and you're not going anywhere.
No, you can't get it out of me now.
No. Well, look, man, I'm excited for your workshop. Look, anytime I see the word attribution and pretty much any type of presentation, I'm like, yes, I'll be going to that one. Like it's just, but I love this one, the dealership triathlon, right?
Yes.
Conquering attribution unicorns. I love that, right? Storytelling, which our industry was built off of, and I think for a while there we kind of lost it, but we're bringing it back. And then the media mix. It's no longer just blindfold and then let's throw a dart at the. Yep, that's what I'm going to do this month.
Right.
None of that anymore, right? That
a little more calculated. It's improving, right? With time, we're getting better.
Right. Okay, so Shane, so what are like maybe 2 or 3 takeaways that you really hope people take away from your workshop and go implement in their dealerships?
Yeah, I'd say the first thing that I'm hoping people take away is really in the title there, the dealership triathlon. I'm a triathlete. It's in my blood. It's something I like. Maybe I just like pain or punishment. But it's there's 3 disciplines to it. You have to swim, you have to bike, you have to run, and you can't really get by just doing one thing. If you don't know how to swim, but you can cycle really well, you're not going to get through it because you can't just skip one part and do another. And so that's the big correlation, I think, with automotive marketing departments. And, some of the times, especially with, as you said, we've gotten away from storytelling. We've gotten into some niche technologies, and we're not really looking at everything together. We might be looking at just attribution and making decisions there, and we're skipping storytelling, or we're not putting an emphasis on the media mix because we're putting too much emphasis on storytelling. And so the big takeaway from the beginning is all of these three things have to work together. Yes, you can't have one without the other. You really do need all 3 if you're going to not just exist but excel in dealership marketing, today.
Well, and I love the fact. I guess I kind of love this depiction of a triathlon. Now, by the way, you can tell by the way I built, I'm so much a triathlete. If I'm running, you probably should be too. Let's just say that. Anyways, I digress. Enough of the fat guy jokes. But no, what I have talked to is a lot of people that do triathlons and marathons and so on and so forth. And I understand that the key to that success is finding a rhythm, all right, that you're able to maintain, and I think this is really kind of important, when it comes to, our marketing and our storytelling, is that, look, there's gonna be some dealerships out there, by the way, guys and ladies that are watching this, there's some dealerships that are phenomenal, phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
All right, at this. That doesn't need to be you, right? And I think that's super key kind of takeaway. It's just like, you need to find your pace
Yeah.
in here and, run it. And I'm sure you got some advice to doing so. And I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely perfect. And one of the pieces of advice, and also another takeaway that we'll be discussing, is the attribution unicorn piece of the thing of
Mhm.
everything. Because as you said, attribution, you put that word there, everyone wants to attend. It's super important in the marketing right now, and where marketing continues to go in the dealership world. And but there are opportunities and pitfalls to get stumbled into, if you're looking for it as a silver bullet.
Sure.
And I think that oftentimes we make decisions, and we can make decisions about media mix or storytelling, or different things, if we're just looking at one piece of attribution and saying, this is how I'm going to judge my media, this is how I'm going to judge my campaign, I'm going to toss things out based on this, I'm going to do more of it based on this. And it's really about, not that, single touch attribution, but how you use that attribution to then make the other things better, using it to make your storytelling better, using the data that you get from attribution to improve the campaign in the future, using it with your BDC so that your BDC, sees and understands kind of what type of people are coming in from the marketing campaigns that they're ultimately, going to be talking to, and making tweaks in your media mix and so forth. So that attribution piece is really big. I know, and we're always talking about it, in these types of presentations of like what to do. And, we're going to be taking a little bit different approach of talking about, what not to do, how not to use it as the silver bullet, but as a part of the three things that need to work together.
No, but I think that makes so much sense, right? How many times have we seen, paralysis by overanalysis?
Yeah.
It's like we actually don't end up doing something because we just spent more time analyzing it before we actually kind of did it,
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you guys are taking more of like what not to do approach,
Yeah.
because if you just looked at the what to do approach, these attribution rabbit holes are everywhere.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you can get stuck in these rabbit holes pretty darn quick, but I think that's like kind of get to your point, because you have to find your pace. How deep down the rabbit hole can you go where you're comfortable, right? That
Yeah.
it still positively affects your storytelling and gives guidance to your media mix, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. With those things working together in that fashion, that's really what creates, a good marketing organization, whether that's within a dealership or whether that's in, a vendor that you're working with and managing. But putting all these three things together is really where the power, comes into play. It's not a linear path in automotive. I think everyone knows and understands that. And there's some really cool opportunities where, with the media mix, with all of these technological tools that we use to deliver media now, to really enhance how we're storytelling, to really take that grain information that can come from attribution and then use it in those other areas. And we did a really cool study that we're going to share as a part of the presentation, that talks about, the attribution and how things like programmatic can then have a tail effect on what happens in search and social. So we really went outside of the automotive space, actually, to do some attribution with some tools that are typically done at a much grander level, with your national level companies and so forth, to look at how, these things can impact each other. So when we get to talking about the media mix, that'll be a great conversation, and hopefully a very big takeaway that we'll leave people with in how, having a good media mix, and doing one thing. I'll just use, programmatic, for example, can help search and social and some of the other things that really take some of the credit, at the end of the day, when it comes to direct activity and people that are looking at Google Analytics and things like that.
No, I think that's incredibly important. I actually just finished doing a little bit of a training session with a relatively large group, and I was working with they're relatively newer CMO, so a little bit newer to automotive, only spent maybe a couple years in it, and had amazing, really deep, loving the attribution rabbit holes that he was going down, but using that attribution data to only give direction to his media mix, and wasn't looking at how certain parts of media mix support the things that are necessarily attributing to it, and how everything needs to kind of work in this ecosystem that kind of works together, because he actually came to me and goes, look, I flipped everything off and went with this because it said it was working, and now I'm actually down. And it's like, we had to go back through that. But I'm so glad that you're bringing this up, because I think it's a really important topic right now.
It is. And, I don't know that it's a new topic, but it's a topic that I think we've gone down a rabbit hole with attribution in a certain way for the last 10 years that we're re-engaging, and this idea, and I'm going to call it a myth, that, a single impression or putting a single VDP in somebody is the thing, that brought that person to the ultimate sale, right? There's a lot of online touch points and offline touch points that go through that process. And that's where the storytelling comes into play, because your storytelling is not just in the media mix. I mean, your storytelling is in how the BDC person talks to the person that's on the phone with them, right? And the stories or how the salesperson communicates a message, in their contact, and all of these things working together are a lifetime of touch points that lead to, the ultimate sale that goes on. And that's really where, I think the magic happens. And that's what we're kind of going to talk about, and really explore, at the Kain presentation.
Well, dude, I'm excited for it. If you're out there watching and listening right now, if you haven't got your ticket, you need to go get it immediately. Kain.auto. Hey, Shane, before I let you go, for everybody out there watching and listening right now who maybe like to connect with you and learn a little bit more about Silverback, what's the best way to do so?
Well, definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. Say hi to me there, Shane Stender, on LinkedIn. And then Silverback Advertising on LinkedIn as well is another great way just to stay connected with the new information that we're putting out. And then our website, silverbackadvertising.com. If you want to check out more particulars about what we do day to day in automotive and for our automotive clients, you can find out there. But by all means, LinkedIn is a great way to get a hold of me, and send me a direct message, say hello, introduce yourself, and I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Hey, Shane, thank you so much for taking the time to jam with me today. This has been a lot of fun. I will see you next week.
That was great, Jason. We'll see you.
Thanks. Bye.